Hi, so my name's Kalisa, and today I'm going to answer the first question, which is why do you think it's so important to pay attention to inequalities, inequities, and vulnerabilities in the workplace? So, I think it's really important to pay attention to inequalities, inequities, and vulnerabilities in the workplace because they have real direct impacts on people's well beings and on how safe and valued they feel and on whether or not they can even do their best work. And when we ignore these issues, we risk creating an environment where people feel almost excluded or powerless. And when you feel excluded or powerless, you don't want to do work. You don't want to put your best foot forward. You don't want to go to work. You're not happy to go to work. And that's not just bad for those people personally that are going through it, it's bad for the whole organization because if people don't feel safe speaking up or if they feel as if they're being treated unfairly, they lose trust in the company, they lose creativity, and they lose productivity, and that will ruin the organization as a whole. For example, inequity in pay or opportunities specifically can lead to resentment or disagreement. If someone knows they're being paid less for the same work or that they're being overlooked for promotions because of certain biases, why would they want to work harder? They won't because they know no matter how hard they work, they're not going to get what they want. They're not going to get that promotion. They're not going to get that extra pay. And to them, there's no reward. And you need reward in order to motivate yourself in a lot of cases. Beyond that, though, there are more subtle ways inequity shows up, like whose ideas are listened to most, or who gets mentored, or who feels more comfortable taking leave when they're sick or caring for their families. All these things kind of add up, and they kind of shape the specific culture of who works harder than others and who has more motivation than others. And when we talk about vulnerabilities as well, we also need to think about how certain people face a lot more vulnerabilities and a lot more challenges than others. So, for example, like newcomers to the country who don't know their rights, people with disabilities who don't get accommodations, or workers who feel like they can't say no to unsafe tasks because they're scared to lose their job, and losing their job to them might be the end of their life. Like they can't afford to do anything if they lose their job, which is a lot of people in a lot of cases. And these things don't just harm individuals, they kind of like ripple out almost, and you can see a higher turnover, you can see lower morale, and even reputational damage if the organization is caught treating these employees badly, which just creates a whole kind of like ripple or domino effect. On the flip side, though, when a workplace pays attention to fairness and inclusion, people feel valued and they feel safe. They share more ideas, they collaborate better, and they want to stay. And that's what you want. You want your employees to want to come to work because it creates such a better environment. And when you have a better and safer environment, you have better workers. And me personally, I actually witnessed an example of this. So I used to work at the Croc store, and we would do weekly meetings. This was when I was in my first year of university. And I had this one colleague, and she spoke English, but you could tell that she didn't speak English very well, and it was her second language. And we would have weekly meetings to just kind of talk about what we want to improve. And I noticed that in these weekly meetings, some team members would cut her off or dismiss her ideas because of her accent. She did have a very thick accent, and it was hard for her to understand her, but I feel as if they did not try to understand her. Because if you tried to understand what she was saying, you could easily figure out what she was trying to say. It's just that she didn't have almost like the right vocabulary, but you could understand what she was saying. They just didn't put the effort in. And I don't know if it was necessarily intentional or if it was like not, but I just kind of was really uncomfortable by it. And over time she became a lot more quiet. In the meeting she did not talk, she did not express her opinion as much, and you can just kind of see she felt almost excluded or even demoralized, and eventually she left. And it really affected the mood in the team as a whole after she left because some of us felt uncomfortable, like me specifically. I felt very uncomfortable about what was happening, and I didn't really know how to speak out about it because you don't want to accuse someone without actual proof of it being intentional. But it made me feel unsafe to talk because it's like, if you guys are so quick to kind of shut her down, what makes me any better? Because I'm not any better than her. And after she left, our team really struggled more because she had a lot of important skills, and honestly, she had a lot of important perspectives that were overlooked, and it just kind of, like I said earlier, caused like a domino effect for the organization to kind of spiral. And overall, that experience really taught me that ignoring inequalities, even like little ones, it hurts everybody. It doesn't just hurt the person. And it's not just about being nice or being politically correct. It's about making sure everyone can contribute and thrive and that everybody feels safe and comfortable. So for me, paying attention to inequalities, inequities, and vulnerabilities in the workplace is so important. And it's about respect and fairness. And it's also about building a strong, healthy, and productive organization when people want to work.